Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mindful Moments podcast. I'm Tracy. I'm your host and fellow traveler on this journey of self-exploration and discovery. Now, today, I'm super excited. It's been a few weeks. I've taken a little bit of time to do a lot of what we'll be discussing today, which is navigating the choppy waters of burnout. And I want us all together to unpack this topic. And what I've noticed is that this is a topic that often flies under the radar until you all know, but until it just hits hard. And when it hits like that, that's what we know and what we understand to be symptoms of burnout. So what I want you all to do is to get very comfortable. I want you to, grab your favorite beverage, maybe get a snack, and, let's get on into this. Let's do this together. And what I've decided to do is I want to take us on a bit of a journey. And a lot of what we talk about, of course, is all involving a journey and paths and all of that. But I want to start by thinking about the way that we begin, the way that we begin journeys or paths or whatever. And I think that we can all agree that a lot of times our journeys begin with enthusiasm, right? Let's take, for example, the first time that you tried to plant, and maybe in particular, maybe you tried to, start a garden. And when you first start, there's this buzz of excitement. Your hands are deep in the soil, all of your seeds are neatly arranged, and you have all your little planters, and you have everything set up, all your tools, and in your mind you have all of these hopes and dreams of the lush greens and the vibrant flowers that you hope to cultivate from your garden. And helping others, it often starts with that same zeal. You start out, you're feeling energized, and you're ready to sow seeds of kindness and support, and feeling like a gardener of goodwill almost, and the truth is that even gardeners need to step back and enjoy the blooms. And truthfully, this is it has been one of the most challenging parts of the journey for me, is that, sometimes it does take reminding yourself that it's okay to sit on the bench sometimes, it's okay to take a chill out, and understanding that, caring for others is vital, it's the good stuff, but nurturing yourself is equally important. All right. And just as plants need time to absorb sunlight and grow, you too need moments to soak in peace and rejuvenate. So remember to water your own garden too. It's not always about tending to others every waking moment. It's about balancing your care to help both others and yourself so that collectively we're thriving. And here's the thing that I found is that there's something that happens throughout this process where, you're on your way to burnout. You might not know it yet. If you're anything like me, you're like, oh, I can keep on trucking on along. But there is something that happens, and we're going to call it hitting the emotional wall. And I want to present an illustration, a visualization, if you will, of this. And I want you to imagine driving your car on a long road trip. And at the start, okay, your tank is full and you're cruising along. Maybe you've got your windows down. If you're one of those bold and courageous ones, you might have your arm dangling out of the window, catching that breeze. Your music's blasting, you're jamming out. I mean, Bob Marley's playing, I can just picture it. I'm listening to a Redemption song and, I'm in it, I'm vibing. But as the miles add up, that fuel gauge starts to dip. You're just watching that ticker go lower and lower. And you see that needle inching towards empty. And soon enough, you're running on fumes. Okay, this is what hitting the emotional wall feels like. It's what it looks like. And simply put, it's you being the car that's been driving nonstop. You're giving rides to everyone. You're ensuring everyone gets to their destination safely. You're making sure everyone has their seatbelts on and making sure everyone is liking the vibe, liking the music, the temperature's right in the vehicle. But in doing all of that, now your gas tank is nearly empty and the car is starting to sputter. You still care about where everyone needs to go, but your vehicle, yourself, is crying out for a pit stop. And when your emotional tank is running low, the temptation to switch to autopilot, it's strong. That temptation is there. And you might find yourself going through the motions, doing just enough to get by. It's like setting the cruise control and hoping, praying that the car keeps moving forward, even as the engine light blinks for attention. This autopilot mode is a defense mechanism, okay? It helps you cope when you're stretched thin, but it just isn't sustainable, Running on fumes can only take you so far before the inevitable breakdown. And oh baby, will there be a breakdown? And I think in these particular moments, there's a question that lingers in my mind, and I'm sure in your minds as well. And it's, what do I do? Like, how do I rediscover the spark? How do I deal with this? Like, what do I do? Okay. What do I do when I'm running on empty, when I'm running on fumes? And as I said, it's time for a pit stop. It's a chance to refuel and refresh. It's a chance to pull over into the gas station. If you're in Missouri like me, that's a quick trip. If you're in Texas, it's probably going to be a Buc-ee's. But you pull over, go get yourself a cold beverage, get you a fountain drink, fill that thing up with ice and a fresh beverage, use the restroom, stretch your legs, and take a moment. And it's important for you to know that rediscovering your spark means first and foremost, acknowledging the fact that you need a break and knowing that that's perfectly okay, So picture that, picture yourself pulling into the gas station or the rest area and stretching your legs and getting that beverage and topping off that tank. Picture that. And the realness about all of this is that it's really about finding those small moments of joy that recharge you. Maybe it's a quiet cup of coffee in the morning, or a walk in the park, or getting cozy and snuggled up with a blanket and a good book. These moments are like premium fuel for your soul, and they help you regain your strength and enthusiasm. So, we've talked about rediscovering those small moments of joy, like a quiet cup of coffee in the morning, or a walk in the park, or, getting cozy with that good book. And we learned that these moments are like premium fuel for your soul, and it helps you to regain your strength and enthusiasm. And, if you're anything like me and you're sitting there going, but what if I'm already juggling a ton of obligations and commitments? How do I balance all of those responsibilities and still prevent burnout? Well, we're going to go a little bit deeper into this. And the truth is that it's not just about finding time for yourself when you're already on empty. That's the key. It's about proactively managing your load and creating sustainable habits that keep your tank full. So let's explore how to say no. And in doing this, we're going to explore different ways that we can reevaluate commitments and set boundaries to ensure that we're staying energized and effective in all areas of our lives. At least we're going to give it our best shot. Okay, can we all commit to that? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, y'all. So let's get real. Let's keep it a buck, as the kids would say. But really though, let's get real about this. And I know I'm not alone when I say that the struggle is real when it comes to saying no, right? And sometimes it can feel uncomfortable, maybe even a little bit selfish at times. But here's the twist, okay? Saying no is actually one of the most selfless things you can do. Let me say that again. I know that there's people in the back. I know that there's people in those pews. I know your butts are hurting sitting back there, but I want to make sure that you hear that. Saying no is actually one of the most selfless things you can do. And in saying no, it ensures that when you say yes, you're truly present and you're able to give your best. You're able to show up as you. You're able to be the most you that you can be, okay? Like Dr. Seuss said, there's no one more youer than you. And think about it like this, okay? If you keep piling on obligations, okay, you keep saying, yes, I can do that. I'd be happy to help. Oh yeah, I got it, blah, 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 right? Your calendar becomes like an overstuffed suitcase, okay? So sure, you might be able to zip it up. You might be able to sit on it and get that zipper to close like I do pretty much every time that I pack. But at some point, it's going to burst. At some point, as soon as that suitcase makes it past the tarmac and onto the plane, there's really no telling if that zipper came unzipped. So learning to say no, it helps to manage that load. It helps you to manage that load, and it helps to keep everything running smoothly. It ensures that all of your clothes, all your belongings, everything inside of that suitcase, it'll still be nice and dry and tidy the way that you packed it. And I know from experience, but if you overstuff that suitcase, it comes unzipped. Now you have some damp clothes, now your clothes are damp and they're wrinkled, and we don't want that. We want to be able to unpack our suitcase, put on our clothes, and go on and enjoy our vacations, okay? So think of it like that. And I realize that some of us are strategic, like we're just more strategy minded. I know I'm one of those. And that's what I want to do is I want to provide a strategy, at least a starting point for strategizing. And the strategy is for helping out with reevaluating your commitments. And one effective approach is to regularly review your calendar. And when you do this, you're going to want to look at your upcoming commitments and, upcoming requests and things, and ask yourself, is this really necessary? Does it bring me joy or fulfillment? Is it something I can realistically handle right now? And when you're asking yourself these questions, it's okay to cancel. If you're asking yourself this and you're like, yeah, no. If that's how you're responding, then know that it's okay to cancel or reschedule things if it means protecting your well-being. And think of it as preventative maintenance. It's like preventative maintenance for your vehicle, which, is you, and your life. And listen, I will be the first one to say that it's natural to feel guilt around this, It's natural to feel like, I don't want to say feel bad, but it's natural to feel a little bit guilty about the fact that you may be canceling plans or rescheduling plans for the umpteenth time this month. And I understand that it can feel a bit like betrayal, especially if you're someone who prides themselves on reliability and being dependable. But here's a little secret. The world will keep turning, okay? Even if you don't attend every single event or fulfill every single request. People will go on. People will understand, especially when they see that you're doing it to preserve your health and your energy and your overall well-being. And sometimes I'll be sitting and thinking about this, or I talk to my husband about it, but imagine if all of us took such good care of ourselves that we were not overextending and overcommitting to things. And imagine if whenever an event came up, if everyone who was in attendance, they were all there full of joy and passion and an eagerness. They're sharing that eagerness that you have for the event because they're there because they're not experiencing burnout, because they are able to show up as their best selves, as their full and complete package. And I think we can all agree that that's the best possible outcome, right? And, another tool, I love sharing these tools. Another tool that you can have in your, let's call it a burnout prevention kit. Okay. We're going to go with that. That works out. I think my mom's going to be proud. That's like right up her alley in several ways. But anyway, I digress. But seriously, so another tool for your burnout prevention kit is delegation. Just knowing that, you don't have to do everything yourself. You can ask for help and you can delegate tasks where possible, whether it's at work or at home, if you have community obligations or anything like that. And if you're able to ask for help and also delegate, it's like sharing the load during a long hike. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know that when everyone carries a bit of the load, the journey becomes a lot more manageable and enjoyable. When you're not having to carry gallons of water and all of the snacks, your change of shoes and clothes, and the cooler, when you're not having to carry all of that and you can balance that load, I promise you'll find that the hike is so much more fulfilling. Then you can really take in the nature around you and you can be lighter on your feet. And the same goes for life. Now, this next segment that we're going to talk about, I'm going to tell you right now, just take a deep breath. Let's all get centered together. Because we're going to talk about creating personal boundaries. Setting boundaries is another crucial step, and it happens to be one of my absolute favorites. I struggled with this for many years, okay? It was a long back and forth internally for me because of all the reasons that we've talked about before. You feel guilty, you feel like you're not helping, you're not supportive, all these sorts of things. But when we talk about setting boundaries, it's about making sure your time and energy are protected, okay? And this might mean setting specific times when you're not available for work calls or dedicating certain days solely to rest and on personal activities. And boundaries help create a sustainable balance between giving and receiving. So for folks who are finding themselves feeling that weight where it's like that you're carrying a large load, and if this is you, I want you to imagine you're on a group hike, okay? And each of you is carrying a backpack filled with essentials. And you're already carrying a lot. Maybe you have some extra water, snacks, and a first aid kit, okay? And there's a lot of water and snacks, because you have to have that for your hike. And so, as you're trekking along, imagine some of your fellow hikers are similarly loaded. So they have quite a bit on that they're carrying as well, while others have lighter packs. Now, picture someone asking you to carry another item for them. Setting a personal boundary here means politely declining to take on more weight. And you could say, you could frame this in different ways, and I'm not huge on saying sorries or anything like that, but, and that's further down the road. We'll get to that with when you say no and you just say no, complete sentence, full stop. Nope. I love doing that. But you might say, I'm sorry, but my pack is already full. And simply by saying no, however you say no, this ensures that you can continue the hike without overburdening yourself, and it also makes sure that you can maintain your strength and your ability to support the group effectively. And in doing all this, it's really about recognizing your limits and sticking to them. And if you do that, then you're able to have a more enjoyable, a more free and flowing, complete journey without running out of steam, without running on fumes, without getting to that burnout, And it's important that we not forget about self-compassion and practicing self-compassion regularly. And I really, I can't stress enough that it's important that you are kind to yourself when you say no or when you need to cancel plans. It's easy to fall into a trap of self-criticism. You can get into putting yourself down. And I just want you to remember that you're doing the best that you can with the resources you have. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. I'm going to keep saying that. Taking care of you is not selfish. It's necessary for your own well-being and for you to be able to continue to help others effectively. And I also, I know that there's some of us out here who are like, yeah, I hear you. All that sounds great. That all sounds grand, copacetic, peachy. I'm with it. But how? How on earth do I do this? So this is for you. This is specifically curated for you. It's with you in mind. And I'm going to share some practical tips that you can implement right now, that you don't need to, it's not like a diet where you have to start on Monday or you have to start, at the end of the pizza special that's going on, or, you have to wait until your kids are out of the house or whatever. You can start this today, right this second, okay? And I wanted to keep this easy and straightforward, so there are 5 steps, okay? Or 5 tips, let's say. 5 tips, that's what we'll call them. The first one, daily check-ins. So spend a few minutes each day reflecting on how you're feeling. Are you tired? Are you stressed? Are you happy? And depending on how you answer these questions, adjust your plans accordingly. Number 2, mindful scheduling. So when you're in the process of receiving requests and, asks and questions about whether or not you can do X, Y, and Z, consider if those requests align with your priorities and your current energy levels. Number 3, set realistic goals. So don't overestimate what you can achieve in a day. I mean, there's 24 hours. We know that we sleep a good 8 of them. At least I do. I always get that strong 8. But don't overestimate what you can do in a day. Break tasks into smaller, manageable chunks. Number 4, Use technology wisely. There's lots of tools out there. We all know we have, calendars, and for some of us, the calendar can actually be a curse more than a blessing. But hey, use some tools like calendar apps and reminders that can help you manage your time and your commitments more effectively. And probably one of my favorite things to do here lately, at least, is to set reminders for breaks and downtime. And I really, really, really don't like the sound of alarms. They drive me nuts, and I don't use them very much. But you can set it as silent so it's not, dinging at you and everything, or do like sticky notes or something. Either way, just remind yourself to take breaks and to sit with yourself in that downtime. Number 5, and this is the 5th one, and it's my absolute favorite, is practice saying no. Okay? Start small. So maybe what I would suggest is start by declining a minor request and see how it feels. Just see how your body responds to that. Like, see if you're building up with tension, or if it's something that you're able to just do, you're able to just say no. And over time, it'll get easier. Over time, it'll get to be something that will be commonplace, and you won't feel that guilt or that, pit of your stomach feeling of oh my goodness, I let them down again. What are they going to think? All of that, it'll go away. It'll be gone. It'll feel so good to you, okay? Because you just won't care. Like I said, because the reason you won't care, it's not because you don't care about that person or that commitment, or you think that their request is unreasonable or something like that. It's not it's none of that. What this does is it gradually builds up your confidence around boundary setting, so that when you're saying no, in your mind, even if the other person or the other people don't know and they don't understand, you know that by saying no, you've now freed up this time. And the same thing, the same time that we were talking about on your calendar, when you remove something from your calendar, now you have this open space. And with that open space, you can do anything that you want. The sky's the limit, that's your time. And what I've been suggesting, I wasn't really planning to share this, but I actually gave some people very close to me, some family members who I know are, again, they're the salt of the earth. They're those people who give so much, and they give so much of themselves, and they love helping. They love doing things. They love supporting people, and we love them for that. And I gave them this challenge to say no to 5 requests in 1 week. Okay, and I actually also told them that they would get bonus points if they canceled or rescheduled something that's already planned, because that allows them to have that time back that they previously had been giving. And that's now a place, a time that is theirs to create whatever they'd like to create with it. So if you're listening to this episode and you're like, you know what? That kind of sounds like me. I think I could be her, I could be him, he is I, they are me. If that's you, then I want you to do this challenge too. And I would love to hear about your experiences, of course, but that's completely up to you. But yeah, do it, and just see what it feels like. And the true goal here in doing this is to free up that time so that you're able to engage in activities that replenish you. And like we talked before, you don't want to wait until you're running on fumes. You don't want to wait until you are completely depleted, because that's burnout, okay? And we don't want that. We're opting out of burnout. We're saying no. we have evicted that HOE. Okay, I don't want to say the word because I don't know if that would affect anything with the explicit content on the platform, but that's what we want to do. But we want to make sure that we're not running on empty, and it's very important that we're engaging in activities that replenish our souls, and we want to do this regularly. And I want to share a few different ways that you can go about replenishing in case you are very new to all of this and you're like, I want to get on, I want to do this, but how? We're going to keep on going a little bit further. And I have 4 different ways that we can go ahead and go through this. So the first one is you can get creative. And getting creative, it can look different for everyone, but you want to find some creative hobbies. So whether it's painting or knitting or writing, find some sort of creative outlet that brings you joy, and that's what you'll want to do as a means for kind of disconnecting from that burnout feeling or that, overburdened and overloaded feeling. You want to go to those creative hobbies. Another activity would be physical activity. And of course, we all know that exercise is a great stress reliever, and it doesn't have to be intense. I feel like I want to make sure that you all know that. Is like, you don't have to go on a 10-mile hike. You don't have to run 10 miles. You can just simply take a daily walk, and you'll see, I don't really have to say much about this because the proof is in the pudding. If you do a daily walk and you do it outdoors, especially, if you have the ability to get out in nature, I would highly recommend going somewhere that is less populated, less dense with people and people energies, and just go on a daily walk. The third one is social connections. So you can spend time with people who uplift and support you. And I try not to put so much weight on whether or not people are providing positive or negative, influence. But what I always recommend is if you look at how you're feeling and then you go and you are around certain people and certain environments, if your feeling has been altered in a way, your emotional state has been altered in a way that you just aren't really down with, like you're just not into it, something just, it just doesn't really sit right, like you're not super excited to go hang out with this person, but you already said that you would, or that this person, as soon as they get into the car with you, that they're going to unload on you. Those are all good times for you to reevaluate those particular relationships and those environments. And you want to make sure that your social connections are high quality. You know what I mean? You want to make sure that those interactions are aligned with you. And if you're noticing that something is just kind of off, trust yourself, trust your gut, trust your intuition. You have it for a reason, use it. And if you're able to do this, and if you're able to really take inventory, of your social relationships, your interactions, you'll find ways that you can recharge your emotional batteries. We'll call them emotional batteries, to make sure that you're getting the most out of your outputs and your inputs. And then number 4, which is the final one, is rest and relaxation. So you're going to want to prioritize sleep and relaxation. I can't stress that enough. It's not only amazing what a good night's sleep can do for your energy levels and your overall well-being, because it really does feel great when you wake up the next day and you're like, well, daggone, I feel like I got a full 8. I feel like I maybe even got a full 9, perhaps a 10. I slept good, When that happens, it's like your brain is working more smoothly, your body is feeling tight and prepared. Everything is just better that way. So make sure that you aren't staying up too late. Make sure you're not getting up earlier than you need to. And if you're an early riser, I'm an early riser. If that's you, then just go to sleep earlier. And if you're getting in the bed and you can't fall asleep, that's a good time for you to practice some mindfulness and meditation. And feel free to refer back to our previous episodes where I take you on a few different guided meditations and reflective exercises. And I'll probably get some more uploaded and added as well that can also help you out with resting and relaxing. And for those of you who might be new here, new to the Mindful Moments podcast, I want to remind you all, and I also want to share with you all, that all of our podcast episodes and a bunch of other information and resources as it relates to the topics that we discuss here on the podcast. If you're interested in hearing more, you want to learn more, then I want you to head over to House of Divinity. And House of Divinity, also known as HOD, is our community platform. It's a platform that I created as a means for sharing and receiving and really just bringing people together who are all trying to figure all of this life stuff out. All of us who are just kind of figuring it out. We're trying to untangle. We're trying to navigate this web. If that's you, then I want you to go to houseofdivinity.store, and that's our website. And there you can learn more about House of Divinity and Mindful Moments podcast. And it's really a great place to connect with me and stay updated on everything we're doing. And by subscribing, you'll be the first to know about any new resources, information, and any happenings related to HOD and the podcast. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to connecting with you all there. And now we're going to go on back into wrapping up for this episode. As we wrap up today, I want to leave you with this thought. Taking care of yourself isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. By learning to say no, setting boundaries, and regularly checking in on yourself, you're not just preventing burnout, you're paving the way for a more fulfilling and balanced life. Thank you all so much for spending this time with me today, and for all of the people who have reached out to me and have shared really encouraging and inspirational feedback. I so appreciate it. I love to hear any time that someone has found anything that I share to be helpful or, supportive and relevant. It means a lot to me because whenever I started putting this podcast together, I really wasn't sure if it would help anyone other than myself, and that's just the real on that. And I told myself that, of course, if it helps one other person, then pat myself on the back, job well done. And if it's more than one person, it's just beyond me. So I so appreciate all of you who listen and those of you who share my podcast and share what we're doing here. I really appreciate you doing that. And most of all, I really appreciate all of you for just coming along for the journey, just deciding that this is something that you want to try, that you do want to move toward a healthier, happier, more joyful, more fulfilling and peaceful way of doing life. So thank you for doing that on behalf of all of humanity. I know that we all need this, so keep doing it, keep going, and until next time, remember to prioritize your well-being and take care of yourself.